Okay, folks, we're here at the darkness once again. And you might be getting sick of seeing this place at this point, but we opened for our event last night. Look what someone did to our beautiful Jack Nicholson. They tore his arm off. And he had an axe. It goes back in his hand, but they busted off his hand. So we're gonna have to fix that. We'll have to get it, and there's old Pennywise. And we have a special video for you today. I'm going to talk a little bit about, just a little bit about everything. And you can see, this is the lobby of the darkness. I mean, it's the exit, and then there was our gift store. And adding this electric chair right here was kind of cool. The one thing that I noticed, though, is what people kept doing was turning it on because that switch tells them to turn it on, but they never turned it off, so it just kept repeating itself. So I had to constantly come in here and turn it off. But you see that? The Darkness Haunted House, pull the lever, ride the lightning scare fest. So, we're going to have another video today. And by the way, a couple things that I want to address in this video is that I am only making these videos to help people, but at the same time, you know, I'm letting everyone know that we're doing a haunt tour. So I'm trying to get the word out about our haunt tour, because I really feel like the haunt tour is the best experience you can have at Transworld in terms of an educational experience. And I'm not trying to say don't take seminars at Transworld or whatever, but look, when you go through a haunted house and you actually see what other people are doing, there is no possible way that a seminar, not in my mind, is more informational than using your own mind, your own imagination, by going through and seeing how somebody else is doing it. What I found is, in this industry, a lot of people do things a lot different, which is a good thing. But in another way, a lot of people kind of copy each other. So they see what somebody else is doing, and then they do their own take on it, their own version. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, because when you think about movies, you know, you can say, there was like this joke, you know, where you pitch movies and it's like this movie, and this movie combined. Okay. That was how they pitch movies, you know. And, you know, when you think about music, a lot of that stuff is very similar as well. People are, when you talk to musical artists, okay, they often tell you that, you know, what bands inspired them, what songs inspired them. So when you come to, or you go and you make it a mission to go visit other haunted houses, that helps your business. And so that's what we're doing here, the Darkness Haunted House Tour. But I'm not saying to come to because this video could be viewed at any time when the haunted house tour is over. The best way for you to expand your horizon, so to speak, is actually to experience the attractions that you want to create. So in other words, if you were building a family fun center and you had never done it before, wouldn't it make sense to go see other family fun centers to give you a better idea of what you would like to do? And it's the same thing with the haunted house business. Go see as many haunted houses. There's so many different kinds of haunted houses. There's ones in buildings, there's ones out in fields, they might be in a mall, they might be on a farm, they might be in an amusement park, and, you know, installed into a bumper car building or whatever, right? There's so many different kinds. So we're having the Darkness Haunted House Tour with the Limp, and you can come here and you can get the tickets. The event is March the 7th, 8th, and 9th. You can get the tickets at darkness.fearticket.com. This tour is brought to you by Fear Ticket. And let me tell you what I learned last night from running the haunted house. For one night, special event only. And this is a big deal. Whenever you do massive renovations to your haunted house, there are pitfalls. You're adding more props, you're adding more animatronics, you're adding more of everything. And you really can't determine that you have enough electric to handle it until everything is being set off over and over and over again. You might not have enough air, and you don't really know that until a bunch of people get inside. So let me tell you everything that happened. We had at least 4 or 5 different sections go out because the fuses blew. So what does that mean? We're going to have an electrician come in here and figure this out once and for all. And what we might end up having to do is put this section that I'm standing in on its own electrical panel. So when you're trying to figure out the cost of doing a haunted house or growing your haunted house, these are things that you usually don't pencil into the budget, okay? You don't pencil them in because you don't think about it, right? Oh, we're adding new scenes. Well, how's that going to affect your air? How's that going to affect your fog? How's that going to affect your electric? Well, I can tell you that the new section that we built got no fog. I can tell you that the new section blacked out several times. I can tell you that we've misplaced some remotes to turn some TVs on. You know, I can tell you a lot of things, okay? So these are all things that we're going to have to work on between now and Transworld. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Now, this is a great tip for you, by the way. You know, a lot of escape rooms will do this. They do these things where they call it beta testing. I do not beta test my escape rooms with real people. I beta test it myself, because I try to use my common sense, my understanding, my knowledge of escape rooms. And I try to make myself as dumb as I possibly can be when I'm beta testing them myself. And I'll know within 3 seconds, is somebody gonna get that or is somebody not gonna get that? Does that work or not work? Do we need to change that or leave it alone? Once I've beta tested it myself, I literally say, well, we're gonna change this and change that, and then we open. It's that simple. Because that's where experience comes in. If you know and you feel very confident that you're all good, you give the go ahead. It's the same thing when you're trying to run a haunted house. You have to figure out, you have to get that experience and that knowledge to understand that you can put the public into your haunted house, that your actors are going to be safe in the haunted house. And this is very important, okay? And so last night I did walk through the haunted house. I literally roamed through the whole place, and I started making mental notes. And one of the things that I did last night after the event was over was have a meeting with all the actors, which I rarely do, by the way, rarely talk to them. And I basically was sharing what I would prefer, how it would go for Transworld, how I would like them to do things different. And we had a nice little chat. And that's what happened, and it went great. So, what else are we going to make videos on while we continue the renovation of the darkness for Transworld? We don't have much time, I can tell you that. So, and we have to go install a mini golf. So I'm going to have to make a pretty extensive list, and I think it's going to take us a couple, 2-3 days to repair all this stuff. And to get everything honed in, dialed in, and ready to go, so that once Transworld's over, we can literally put a padlock on the darkness and say, we're not coming back until Halloween is ready to go. But I think all the things that I just talked about are great tips for you to think about, to absorb. So as you are making your journey through this haunted attraction industry. Now, I will tell you that I am going to make a video on how to grow your business and how to grow your social media following. Because, hey, and this isn't bragging, and I want to say to the person that said that I'm making videos just to brag about all the cool stuff we have. Well, hey, you know what? Go build your own haunted house, be successful, and buy whatever the heck you want. But I'm not walking around the attraction going, look at this, look at that. You know, I'm just walking around, pacing around and talking and trying to give advice. You can't even make up the stupid stuff that people say online because it's so easy to do. And I guess that's why. You know, I've always learned, and this is just a tip for everybody, is when you don't know, ask. The dumbest question you could ever ask is the one you don't ask, okay? So if you ever really want to know what the truth is, open your mouth and ask a question. Don't assume. Okay, because that's what these morons are doing. They're assuming. And see, that is so dumb to do it that way. And I'm sorry if you think I'm being rude by using the word moron or dumb. Well, you are really dumb if you just assume you know everything. Because you don't. That makes you really stupid. That makes you dangerous. Because you're going to do something that's going to cost your business, your family, or whatever, yourself, a lot of agony later because you assumed you knew what you were talking about rather than go out there and ask somebody who might know. And I can tell you this, it seems like, you know, when I talk on these videos, I have all the answers, right? So I'm kind of like Siri, okay? Siri for the haunted house industry or whatever you want to call it. But I can tell you that when I don't know something, and by the way, that's like almost every day, I go to the internet, I go to YouTube mostly. Like for example, last night, as I was getting ready to scan tickets using Fear Ticket, the best scanning app, the best ticketing app in the haunted house industry, my phone, some prompt came up. It had nothing to do with Fear Ticket. It was something I just added to the house with ADT. It was a prompt from that, and it froze my phone. I could not figure out how to unlock my phone. So everything on my phone would work except for this prompt was in the middle. And oh my God, my son says, give it to me and I'll fix it. And of course he couldn't fix it. And he says, you're gonna have to take this to Apple. So what did I do? I needed to scan tickets. This was a problem. So I went to YouTube. I pulled up my iPad, I went to YouTube, I looked it up, and I found the answer. I did it and it reset my phone and everything was fine. So I, just like anyone else in this world, I don't care if you're Elon Musk to anyone in between, nobody knows the answers to everything, okay? You have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to accept that most of the time you don't know what you're talking about, or that you might not have all the facts and you should go get them. And one prime example that I'll give you is, you know, if you watch the movie about Elvis that came out, very entertaining movie, very inaccurate movie, like virtually maybe 50% of it was right and 50% of it was just made up from the movie. A movie that I found to be like 80% inaccurate was the Freddie Mercury movie, the movie about Queen. I mean, like I could literally do a whole video of everything in the movie, the Queen movie. Now, it did a lot of money, it did fantastic, people liked it, but the movie was just so inaccurate. I mean, like literally I could go down the laundry list. Freddie Mercury did not know he had AIDS before the big concert that he played. What was that called? Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I'm forgetting this. There was no breakup of the band. He didn't meet the band that way. I mean, literally, you could go on and on and on and on and on. Right after that Live Aid, I guess what it was, they went on a world tour. Okay, they went on a world tour. He didn't even know he had AIDS the whole time. Towards the end of the world tour, he started to suspect that maybe, because he started seeing some like bumps and he started getting weaker. And then that's when the tour was over, he went and got, and then he didn't even tell the band then. And then as it got worse, he told the band and he wanted to record as many songs as he could. Literally 2 weeks before he died, they were literally propping him up against the wall and he's just singing, okay, to record as much as they possibly could. So the movie was totally inaccurate, okay? It just made for more drama. So no, I don't believe anything just because somebody says it, okay? I want to research it and find out. So with all that being said, these are the things that we learned last night from Running the Darkness, and these are things we're going to have to correct pretty quickly. And so now, and then here's what this video is about. It's going to be about flying rigs, and this is going to be Flying Rigs Part 1. So when we talk about the darkness renovation, it's not done because we have a few things left to do, but for the most part, it's done. But, you know, is it ever done? Because we bought a flying rig system from Studio Effects Tech, and he literally flew all the way to St. Louis to measure it, to get it right. So this is like the last big thing that we're going to install here at the darkness for the Transworld show. It's very expensive, but it's a really cool effect, and I think the darkness needs one. And so what we're going to do is he's over there measuring the space. We're going to make this a 2-part video. When he comes back to install it, which will be the Sunday before Transworld is over, or no, Sunday before Transworld happens, he says it'll take him 2 hours to get it installed. He's gonna tell me everything that I need to do. He's gonna tell me what we need to do. And then we're gonna like ask Robert a few questions about flying rigs. But one of the things I wanted to do with this video was I've been reading the comments, and I'm just trying to sort of address some of the things that people have said. But another thing that we have to get done for any haunt tour or your haunt to be open for the season is make sure it's going to operate correctly and it's safe. And so it was an issue last night running the haunt when all the power is going out all the time, or you can't, you start to notice you're not getting any fog in the space where you need fog, and you're having all these like different problems, or you can't find a remote or this or that or the other. So these are all things that we're gonna correct. So technically we beta tested the darkness. It went really well. And we made a video and we uploaded it about special events. And I also did a video of me walking through the haunted house, which we're gonna upload that as well. And somebody asked if we're gonna upload all of the videos, the how-to videos from the past. We just uploaded the gore one, and yes, we plan on uploading more, and we also plan on visiting some haunted houses here coming up. But let's see if we can find good old Robert over here, and we'll talk about flying rigs. And this is the last big thing we're gonna have to do, other than probably gonna have to install some new electrical panels to run the haunted house, because it's just got too much stuff in it. And we're gonna install the flying rig. There's Robert right up there.
Hey Larry.
Hey Robert. So for those who don't know, we used to have a flying rig. It was right here. We stopped using it 2 or 3 years ago, and we've been talking to Robert here for a couple years about adding one, and he's got some interesting ways of adding them. So what are you learning up there, Robert?
Well, you know, I think that this is very impressive. The rail that we could do, we could replace this, the same 20 feet, which is cool because as a rolling bridle rig, the actor will be able to crawl in this space. But let me throw something at you. This is the most incredible thing, but let's say it was able to be relocated somewhere else, at least a section of this. We could take our rail and curve it right in this spot and bring the actor over and land him into this point here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally something no one's ever done before. But they could literally arc around, spin around, things like hanging chains, they can grab along, completely invert, upside down, come back over, and land right on top of this. It would be really cool. I mean, really cool.
Are you all done measuring it?
Measured it. I've got a basic model that I'm creating over here of the space.
Oh, let's take a look at that.
I just got to do the math.
So wow, yeah, he's
it's
actually
not much, but it's enough that I need right now. I've got to draw some particulars, and but yeah, if we could ditch this section, we can bring down the rail elevation, clear all these other pipes, and bring the actor into this whole space.
Well, that would be pretty cool. Now, let me ask you, Robert, you're here in St. Louis. You just flew in. Whenever there's an indoor system in an existing haunted house, do you always fly in to measure?
Well, it's a good idea. If we're gonna put in a standalone system, there's no need for us to show up unless there's some obstructions within the building. You and attractions like you are unique in this type of space, where we're gonna go ahead and create custom mounts onto these big beams. I need to know exactly where everything is. So that kind of detail is really important. So for us to come out and measure this, it just makes a flawless install. So our goal right now is to whatever decision you decide, as we've talked about, we're going to go back and fabricate all these custom stainless steel mounts. And we'll be back here next Sunday when we come into the Transworld show. We're coming in, not next Sunday, the Sunday after, the 3rd. We will come in the afternoon and we'll install the entire rig and ready for actor training within 2 hours. That's the devil in the details.
That's why you got to get it so exact.
Exactly.
So when you do like a rig for like an outdoor hayride, and you don't need to necessarily come and...
No, not necessarily, no. Unless there's some kind of a weird elevation, or a lot of times, you know what I find is that operators like you, we come in here and just like this, you have this idea of replacing this, and then organically we came up with a better idea. So sometimes just coming out and being able to have that conversation and get inside your head and give you some ideas, it just creates something more incredible.
How many indoor haunts have you installed these in?
Gosh, quite a few. A lot of theme parks. Last year we did all the stunts for Knott's Berry Farm, Knott's Scary Farm. We're in Six Flags, Busch Gardens. We've got rigs. Well, some of our glide wires went into Netherworld. I can't. It's a lot.
What is are you all done up there? Do you want to come down the ladder?
Yeah, I'm done.
Instead of pointing up into the skylight? What are some of the when you think about like these big animations, specifically you see the darkness, we have a lot of big ones, and they run about 10 grand ish. Okay, what is the cost typically of doing something kind of cool for an indoor haunt?
Well, I mean, like in some of our stuff, like our glide wires, they start around 9,000. That's a 10-foot flying rig that you can build into a double-sided point. So there's 2 actual scares. When you start getting into some of the bigger stuff, some of the customs, you can get into the 20, even up to 30,000 if we're fully supporting it in truss. So the numbers are all over the place. It really depends on the type of installation we're doing. I mean, this last year for LA Haunted Hayrides and for Knott's, we created these big, huge flying rings, and very impressive with custom inline rolling bridles.
So basically, your company is allowing actors to kind of sort of do cool things within the haunt, like you would see at like a Cirque Delay show or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at this. God, we've been in the game for how long, right? It started with, basic props to animations, the eye candy. And now a lot of the attractions want to step up and broach that envelope where they have their actors in key areas that they want to do over-the-top things, stunts, but they're safe. So in something like this, we want to create something that's absolutely reliable, can be built and installed as a permanent, 365-day operation, and you're using it for what? 45 days a year. They last forever.
And do when we built ours, like the actors weren't always like comfortable in it. The ones that you do how long could an actor stay in one?
Oh, they can stay through the whole evening. The actors that are on these harnesses, all the way down to the leg straps, they're absolutely supported. That was one of the big things we got from a lot of our theme parks that have historically been doing these kinds of stunts and effects, is that when they came over to our gear, they were just their actors. The first thing they said is, "Oh my God, this is so much more comfortable."
Is there a weight issue for them?
We can fly, typically with all of our rigs, we try to fly 240 pounds and below. So I think that's just a good number. You get someone that's so big, it just becomes, uncomfortable in harnessing, someone larger than 240. So we find that as a sweet spot. Our average actor is 160 to 190 pounds.
What are some of the safety issues with people doing their own, trying to do it on their own?
Well, you know what? We see a lot. And the biggest thing is when you start looking at, there's actually national flying standards when it comes to these types of operations. And something like that we're creating in a load, we're doing everything at a basic factor of 8. Meaning that the maximum loads that we're putting in, our structures, everything that we're designing is going to have an 8 times load capacity. So in terms of the gear, our flying rig's going to outlast this building. And your actors are going to be very, very comfortable because there's no drag, there's nothing. It's a whisper quiet, very easily, 12 bearing rolling bridle trolley. And
let me ask you this question, like, when you're in this rig, can they wear a costume, or how does that work?
So I brought the costume for you, so your coordinators can start working on it now. So in this, because we're going to have multiple pick points right around their waist, so that's something that they can completely put in the harness, put on the costume, just have some opening parts to where we can carabiner in, and then they're ready to go.
So you're selling all kinds of stuff now where they're rigged into stuff. Like, what are some of the other things you do?
So, we've got some pretty exciting stuff. I don't even know if I want to even mention it right now for Transworld.
Well, why wouldn't you? It's 2 weeks away.
I know. Well,
who's going to copy it in 2 weeks?
No one's going to copy it. Okay, so I'll tell you. We've got a new inline flying rig that we're calling the Impact. And what that is, it's the first ever flying rig that is not just an end-to-end, but it will come right out at the audience, and it'll set the actor into a stop where we're using, which is really cool, we're using magnetic deceleration that then spins the actor out forward of the truss, and they'll swing completely out. Their whole body will come 6 feet out of the front of that rig, and the momentum will pull them right out of the decelerator and back to their
I think
place.
You did that last year for Knott's, right?
I did that for Hershey's.
Okay, because I think I've seen a video of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get kind of catapulted out, almost like if they had like demon wings, and they fly out at you, and then they go right back in.
They go right back in. And it's something that we can be very low impact for the actor, extremely impressive. The audience sees a person come flying out and up and over them and back. It's shocking how impressive it is, but it's very low impact and highly repetitive. So the actor can come back to the rig, shoot out again, come back, and keep shooting out.
Do you have anything where like an actor could climb the walls or jump off the wall and come all the way down? I know you had the original, like, and we had one too. It was like where you kind of jump down, spring back. Yeah.
So we have a Slingshot 1, then we have a smaller version of a Slingshot 2, and this year we're bringing a Slingshot 3. And the 3 is a combination of your drop slingshot bungee, but it also does a lean and a swing. So it's a 3-in-1 rig. So just by making simple adjustments, you can create different effects with the one piece, and it's got a smaller footprint. So again, we're always looking at how we can turn around and create something that, like for instance, hey, this came from you several years ago. You were urging me to build a lean out rig. So we built a mechanical one that was all done on springs called the the Governor. And then 2 years later, we brought in the Commanders. And they've been super popular, where the actors can lean out on a wall.
Yeah.
But now they can jump down, lean out, or swing out.
Oh, man. How much does that cost?
We're still working on the price.
Roughly, what does it cost?
It's going to be somewhere in close to around $5,000.
So basically, you're just enabling actors to do things that are more stunt related, but safe.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing that we get when we get people in our booth and they look at things and they think, oh, I'm going to go ahead and build it this way. The engineering and the process that goes into each one of these rings is beyond even myself, because we're relying on other engineers that are working, like our decelerators. We have 3 different engineering houses that came together for various elements of that to create something that we could then put in. It's the same application that uses that stops roller coasters, and we're stopping a person. So again, we're looking at it the operation of if every day it's stopping a 30-car roller coaster, it can stop an individual.
So Robert, like when you have a haunted house like this, and we struggle to get this ladder in here, okay, right? And I say this all the time to vendors, you know, like if you're gonna make big stuff, you know, make it so it can come apart, because when you have a haunt like this, it's all built out. Yeah. Is that a problem for?
Well, everything we build is an example. That's a perfect example. So this is what, a 12-foot ladder, 10-foot ladder?
Yeah.
All of our gear is no greater than 10 feet long. So if you can move a 10-foot 2x4 into your space, for the most part, you can bring any one of our rigs in and assemble it.
It's 10 feet. Says right
10
there.
foot, yeah.
10 foot.
So any one of our rigs can go into a space like that. They've been configured for that.
And so your suggestion is, if you have an indoor haunt like the Darkness, is to bring you out, let you physically examine it, and then design on your computer while you're there their rig.
We can do things remotely. Not a problem. We do it all the time. But again, when I have eyes on the ground, I can come out and look at the space. I can develop better options and other things that you would never ever thought about, because I'm looking at it through a different lens.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I want to make this like a two-part video. So when you're installing it, and that's the thing, Robert. It's like I tell people all the time. It's like they say, different things like, when we're doing these haunt tours, like we go all out. We're always trying to do something, over the top. And if I'm being completely honest, like Robert was coming out just to measure from end to end. Okay. And then he says, oh, wait a minute. What if we, it's like, and that was kind of a benefit to having you physically come out, is that maybe you could do something even cooler.
Yeah.
And so that's a benefit. But when you're doing like a hayride or an outdoor thing, you supply like all the supports to hold the rig up, right?
So I try to provide, especially when it comes to any types of these, it's all end-to-end solutions. So we want as much information from the client on the space. Then from us, we're going to go ahead and come back with questions. If we can't get the questions answered, we're going to have to probably push for an on-site visit. I like to come out. I like to see what's going on. It's, again, the devil's in the details. We don't want to show up, like, for instance, with you, several days before the show, and there's something that was just missed.
And then you won't be able to install it.
Exactly.
But this is going to get installed the Sunday before the show.
Yep, in about 2 hours. It'll be from us bringing it in to putting the first actor on it and start doing training.
And from here, we're going to go to Creepy World and look at another possible location in our hayride for a rig. So... But that's probably like a lot easier to do, I would imagine. Do you install every one, or?
No, not necessarily. Everything you get from us are in full breakdown binders with all of from training all the way down to setup and maintenance. So, everything is supported. We're a phone call away at any given point. I do so much online installation now with Zoom and Teams and FaceTime. I get on and I'm doing training. I'm doing installation oversight.
Is there any maintenance issues with these?
For these?
Yeah.
Oh, very little. To give you an idea, it's the typical maintenance is going through and doing simple assessments. Is there any webbing ripping on the harness? Something that the actor may have done, catching on something else in the haunt. When it comes to the wheels and the bearings, those are all industrial, custom milled nylon 6 rolling wheels. They last forever, especially in your application. They're meant for industrial use, day in, day out, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And we're operating at very, very light capacity. And so in terms of that, they're going to outlast your need, but then we support everything. So the biggest thing is communication. You guys are doing your standard inspections, and you see, oh, something looks different, take a picture, get us on the phone, we'll look at it immediately. 9 out of 10 rule it out, but always it's the process that you guys are looking at what you're doing, you're compliant to what is right in this type of operation, again, you're bringing up that level of,
Showmanship.
effect and showmanship, but it comes with responsibility. And those, I can't stress enough, if they're not ready to step into the world of the responsibility, they shouldn't be doing it.
Now, one thing I want to ask you since you're here, because I know that you're kind of anal, as the term goes, and some people would say, oh, he's a jerk, okay, because you're so mean to people.
I'm not mean.
No, hold on, let me finish what I'm talking about. Those jumping ones,
Yeah.
okay, because you're very adamant that you replace those bungees, and then when somebody tries to replace them on their own, they're putting, and so I meant it in a good way,
Yeah.
that you get upset when people try to replace your bungees with something they go buy from the store.
Well, our customer base that has our rigs, I've never seen anybody trying to buy something on the store and do that. We've got a really solid customer base.
But what I'm talking about, you've actually found out where people have tried to replace the equipment instead of buying it from you and buying it, and then it could literally be detrimental to the actor.
Well, yeah. So what I find is this: I have several people in the industry that are all through the message boards and Facebook, and I occasionally get all these little horror stories of something that happened and someone just thought, oh, I saw it at the show and I could build one of these, and then there was a problem. Knock on wood, 25 years of the slingshots alone, 0 incidences.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're on top of it, and we're always looking at ways of re-educating our customer so they're actually being more proactive in inspections and those things. And that's what keeps those rigs safe. Our bungees.
How often do you suggest they replace?
Annual. Doesn't matter if you
annually,
use it twice or a full load.
To replace it annually.
Yes.
And see, that's what I meant, because somebody calls me and says, oh, he wants X, Y, whatever, and like, where can I buy these, like, from someone else? And like, but you're like extremely anal, like, no, don't use my system if you're not going to use the right equipment.
Well, if you're not going to do it right, it's somebody's
It's a liability
life that you're putting into this. It's, you have to respect the people that you are relying on to do a great acting job in your show. And again, how it's being operated, what it's operating.
And they're not getting injured. And
exactly.
Because I know for a fact that we had to take it out because that's where we expanded the gift store.
Yeah.
It was a great effect. Everyone loved it, but the bungees would start to fray.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to call you and get more.
Every year, get new bungees.
And get new ones every year. But you want people to replace them every single year, no matter.
No matter. Because you know what? When you're on good quality, fresh rubber, it's going to last. Now, there's a cycle. I've got theme parks that they're doing such high cycle usage, they might have 2 and 3 sets assigned to different actors for one rig. And that's part of their protocol. So it doesn't mean that the average haunted house, 1 set is fine. They're not high cycling through like a big theme park operation.
Yeah, so basically what I was trying to say was, hey, you're not going to accept, whether they like it or not, them taking safety as a light, because you can save $5.
Exactly. Well, and think of it this way. It also is, we're brand conscious based on our reputation. So we will not sell harnesses or bungee gear. It's all what we call restrictive product. It's the customers that have our rig. They are registered users. It's something that when we have attraction operators that will have it for 10 years and they decide they're going to sell it, they'll get better resale value on that rig, and we do a transfer of ownership so the next person can actually buy from us, because we won't sell any of that gear outside of our rigs. We want it to be done in a way, and we're here to support you. So we get attraction operators going, I'm thinking of doing it here. And 9 out of 10, I can say, hey, put it over here a little bit. It's going to be a better effect for you. Because we've seen so much of these usage. Just like us here today, looking at what you're doing and going, have you thought of this?
But those bungees, how long will they last?
So they'll last a season. A typical attraction like your operation, you use them for a season. And then sometimes you try to use them outside and past that season. We want you to retire them and get right on fresh rubber. Because it's that gap between. We don't want to over test something, and people will tell us, oh, I stored it in a very safe spot, in a cool spot. Stuff happens. So for us, with the hundreds of rigs that we have out there, we want to make sure that everybody's doing the same.
But on these flying rigs here, there's nothing to replace other than maybe if the harness starts to wear.
Exactly.
So it's even safer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very important. And I want to say that we did replace our bungees, and I didn't know that I was supposed to replace them every year, and we probably used them for a couple years. And then I would look at them and I would say, those are fraying. And then I called you and you said, oh no, you can't use these 2 years in a row. What's wrong with you?
Oh, we're on the phone.
I didn't know that.
Constantly with trying to chase people down to get them on fresh rubber every year. And again, you know what? Unfortunately, in the world that we are, especially nowadays, things cost money, right? It's not cheap. It's not cheap to put all this together. But the reality is this is something that it's an expendable. We want people to replace. We want people to be on.
And those bungee ones, because that's probably been your biggest seller of all time, right?
Longest, yeah.
I've seen, videos online, where people jump professional bungees and they snap and break. And then when I look at my actors and they're literally doing somersaults, you got to make sure those things are, not going to fail, right? So it's very important. So that's why I wanted to ask, because, in the past we had talked about, like, you had given me, like, oh no, Larry, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like, oh no, that was a big mistake.
Well, there's a lot of things over the last 25 years.
Yeah.
All the way down to now implementing all of our binders. So, we treat it.
But these flying rigs in the haunt, these are like just way safer.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What about like when they flip around and stuff? Do you kind of set them up high enough so they can't accidentally kick a customer, or?
Oh yeah, in the height that you have, we can bring that bridle way up to the top. And so the thing is there's some, it's called balance control. So just in the harnesses alone, we can adjust pick points on the harness to where they can't flip. So if you're trying to do something where you don't want your actor to flip, we can lock that out, or make it very slow to where they can get into an inversion and come out of it. It's like our bungees. Everybody always goes, wow, it's so scary because it comes out fast. But a jump is like a normal jump. It doesn't accelerate any faster. So the actors are very methodical about what they're doing, and they can make it happen, and it's not out of control. The audience perception is it's out of control, and that's what makes it scary.
Do you have a mechanism that you can supply with them where they would have audio? Like where they would have a microphone or something, and so they can
wait till you see the Transworld show. We've got some pretty cool add-ons that we're doing on all of our rigs this year.
So where can they see you at Transworld?
Well, we're at booth. We have 16 booths at the show this year. We're a very large footprint. We're right next to Froggy's, next to Fright Props, and the 30, starting at the 430 aisle to 451 aisle.
Now, Robert, tell them where they can actually see a flying rig at Transworld in a haunted house. Where could they see that?
The Darkness.
The Darkness Haunted House Tour. And I walked you around like the new section.
You've outdone yourself. You know what? I'm blown away. I do this for a living, and when I come in and I see attractions that, like you, I mean, God, you have done an amazing job in such a short period of time. We started talking about this, and you're like, I'm getting ready to start tearing stuff out, and you're at this level in a few weeks. It's insane.
Well, in all fairness, Robert, you've kind of been frustrated with me a little here and there. And it's not his fault. It's my fault. Because we talked about putting a flying rig in the church, downstairs when I showed you. And you can see how that just isn't going to work. And So that was the idea. And I've said on these videos multiple times, like I do things a little different than people. Like I just sort of figure it out as I go along. And so that was just kind of sort of being built. And the whole idea was to put one in there. Then as I started to see it all go together, I started realizing it's not gonna work.
No.
And so he got kind of upset with me because I wasn't communicating that. And then I literally called him and said, you know, I was going to call you, but like I think like what I should do is replace the one that I have. And then,
yeah, this was a smart move, and it's a better location.
yeah, and so then he just literally jumped on an airplane and came on down here and said, in order to do this, I really need to measure it and see it. And then so we're actually going to put one in. And then we're going to go over to Creepy World and look at another spot. And because I can tell you, in my opinion, that it just takes your haunted house. It's like getting those big animations. They're great for like social media and everything, like when people film that and whatnot. But when they see something like this and actors literally flying over their head and whatnot, it just takes it to another level.
Oh yeah, safely.
What is your recommendation for like a haunt? Like when they're trying to stake out a location for, and because I'm specifically talking about indoor, because when you talk about hayride and stuff like that, it's just too easy. Right? It's way too easy because you got nothing but space. But when you've got a built out facility like this, what do you suggest? What is your recommendation for going through your haunt and trying to find a spot for something like this?
Well, you know, in your application, like for instance here, you're doing what we call a crawling effect. So it's a rolling bridle that allows them to crawl over the tops of their of your sets. And then there are big open fly rig parts. We have attractions that we've built in either one or the other and left future to add on to it and literally build a truss system across and through the top of the haunted house. So if you're like a standard like warehouse kind of haunt that's not so built in like this building that you have the elevation and stuff to move, you can design those in. Every attraction has its unique challenges. So to a large extent, our towers have a very small footprint, and then everything goes overhead. So, to your statement earlier about getting things in, you know, that is some part of the planning. You know, I've had interesting installs, but we make it happen.
But if a haunt owner is like gonna like peek around their haunt to try to find a spot to do it, what are you suggesting? Like find something where it's long or in this case, like where it could bend?
Yeah, we can do a lot of different things. But see, like in this case here, you know, you could have a rail that's going through multiple different scenes, and each time as actors go through, they're doing different elements of a scare. So you can use one actor in multiple scenes. Your application, now we're going to curve them, so instead of them going on top of this part here, they can land on this set, which is now a really cool effect. This came from Pale Night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've got something where
it was a custom build. Okay, I'm gonna tell the story. It was custom made for us, and then it was like an idea that I came up with, and all of our actors got together, and because we were building this section right here with all these zombies, but I think it was his like #1 seller that he ever had at Transworld. Yeah.
Well, now let's put an actor on top of it.
Yeah, a zombie.
Exactly.
Hey, well, thanks a lot, Robert, and we're gonna get part 2 in about a week. No, how long?
12 days? Crazy.
12 days, you'll be back?
We will have everything
So it's not next Sunday, it's the Sunday after?
Sunday after.
Okay.
Which means we have to have everything done by Thursday the 28th, loaded on a truck, and ready to come here for an install.
Now, how long does it typically take you to turn one of these around?
Well, it depends. On yours, you know, right now, we have, you know, we can build them. The biggest thing is if we start doing stuff with truss, we're tied to the truss manufacturers. Sometimes that can take 6 weeks. If we're doing a custom rail install like this, couple weeks. So
now I'm putting you on the spot here. Maybe you won't like this, but when we do our behind the scenes tour, okay, do you think you might be here to demo it?
You want me here?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you can be here and you can answer any questions. You can't do it for when we do a live tour.
No.
Okay. But for the behind the scenes tour, there's no fog and the people just kind of mill around. And then maybe you could have somebody up there.
I'll put staff up there.
Yeah, and then
they'd love it.
you can answer questions, and right where your computer is, you can even have your flyers or whatever. But like, could we say that you'll be here for the behind the scenes tour and you can take any questions? It's and for those who don't know, it's Thursday night from 7 to 9.
Okay.
And so can we put somebody in it and fly around in it?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be great. Would it be hard to actually put some of the people if they wanted to get up and fly themselves?
Yes.
Yes.
Only because of harnessing.
Okay.
Oh my God, we'd have a line, you'd never get people through the show.
Okay.
We want to try.
All right. Well, there you go. You heard it here first. So we have to go to Creepy World and we got to measure another space. But we want you to get the tickets to the behind the scenes tour. And I'm just going to quickly tell you there's about 90 of those left. The Darkness Haunt Tour has about 300 left. And then the Lamp has about 100. And I'm telling you, we have to restrict the amount of tickets, because if you ever come to the Darkness for the behind the scenes tour, I swear to God, like one year, and I'm not complaining, but we had this one group, and I swear to God, they had headlights on their head with big giant lights. He had like 60 cameras like strapped to his whole body, and they were trying to, like, I don't know, record everything. And like eventually it was like an hour after it was over, we literally went in there and said, hey, we have to go. You know what I'm saying? We have to go. You got to step this up. But whenever you do these behind the scenes tours, people want to go through, they want to take their time. I mean, that's the whole point of it. So we know that people want to have that experience. So that's why it's limited to 275 people. In the past, we've added like 25 tickets with no seminar, and it was tacked on to the end. And maybe we'll do that, maybe not. But it includes a seminar. It's going to be a special guest is Grim Life Collective, and maybe we'll have Robert poke in as well, and for the seminar part and explain what he's going to be doing up here. And so if I wanted to be here till midnight, we would say, oh yeah, we'll have 500 of these people can buy a ticket, and then we would lower the price. The price is where the price is because number one, it's valuable education, let me tell you, and number two, the price is because we want the people who own the attractions to be able to get the tickets. So if I started pricing them out at like $50, $80 or whatever, people in St. Louis would buy them, and we don't want that. And it's the same way that I said with St. Louis Escape. If you want to come to our escape rooms, book them in advance, because like, for example, yesterday, which was Saturday, we were sold out. The escape rooms were sold out and there was no Transworld. Sunday, today, we're sold out. We're completely sold out. There's a couple of Frankensteins that didn't get booked. So I'm saying these things not to be like, I'm telling you, because this is what the reality is. On Friday, we're doing the Lamp with actors, and Saturday, we're doing the Darkness with actors, with fog and everything. So go to darkness.fearticket.com, and remember that you could be watching this video like 10 years from now. Okay, if Transworld's still in St. Louis and we do a haunt tour and we're still alive, we're still here, you can still go to darkness.fearticket.com and see if we're doing a haunt tour. The show is always in March, and typically it's in March. One year it was at the end of maybe middle of February, I don't know. But it's typically the beginning of March, and you can learn more about the Transworld show at haashow.com. We will be there documenting it. It's 500,000 square feet of Christmas lights, haunted house props, escape rooms. There's like inflatables. There's even people that sell zip lines that are there. It's a little bit of everything. And then, of course, Robert will be there, and he'll have all of his stuff set up, and you can go visit him, or you can go to the Darkness Haunt Tour and see it working right here in the Darkness. That's March the 7th. Get your tickets now at darkness.fearticket.com, and we will make a follow-up video to this when he installs it on Sunday, and we're going to see him finishing the install and then asking him a few questions about flying rigs, and then you'll see somebody flying it. And that video will be on the Haunt World channel in, I guess, 12 days, Robert?
Yeah.
All right.
It's coming.
All right. So we got to head off to Creepy World, Robert.
Sounds good.
So just tell everybody, how do they reach your website?
So studiotecheffects.com. You can reach us at the show. Come on out and see all the fun stuff we have. We've got 4 flying rigs. 3 will be in operation. 1 is for show, but then...
And you'll have one here.
And we'll have one here.
What do you go to any other trade shows?
Transworld's the only show we do.
Transworld's the only show? Okay. Yeah. All right, so Robert, I always struggle, like, when I end these videos, like, there's got to be some kind of sort of slogan at the end, like happy hunting, pleasant screams. What would be yours?
You know what? Right now, preparation and exhaustion, right? It's a lot of sweat equity and a lot of work to get to where we're at and where we're going to be in the next 2 weeks.
And you're going to drive from California to here.
Yeah.
How long does that drive take?
You know, we'll leave Friday morning and we'll be right to your location by Sunday afternoon.
Oh, man.
So.
Well, we look forward to it, Robert. And so hopefully they follow the channel and come and see it in person and come to the show and enjoy the show, haashow.com. And then if you want to reach Studio Effects Tech, visit
StudioTekFX.com. Put a .com on it and you're on
and you're there. And you're there. And if you want to learn more about the darkness, you can just go to thedarkness.com. Or if you want to find haunted houses, you can go to hauntworld.com. But until then, happy flying. Yes. Halloween flying, whatever you want to say.
Exactly.
All right, you take care, and we'll see you soon. And look up in this ceiling, because when we film this hideous ceiling the next time, it'll have a flying rig in it.